you get some bozo that comes in the gym. Hey, I'm here. I want to fight UFC. Okay, you might want to apply at the UFC Fight Center or for their company. What do you mean? I'm like, we train mixed martial arts here. We don't train UFC. I know what he means, but they don't know what they mean, and that's a problem, right? What do you mean? What do you mean? I'm like, well, you're asking to train UFC. UFC is an organization.
Right.
That'd be like me saying I have to go. I can't even think of an analogy, but it's the same thing. It's like, I go, mixed martial arts is made up of different martial arts. You want to train UFC. What you really mean is you want to train MMA.
Yeah, it'd be like saying,
then go work for UFC.
I want to train Food Network. Like,
yeah, thank you. Yes, that was yes.
Right,
thank you.
It'd be like, well, there's French food, there's Greek food, there's
That was the best analogy right there. Looking for the perfect grooming experience for your pup? Welcome to Carly's Fairy Tale Dog Grooming, located at 8 North Main Street in Pittston. We offer boutique-style grooming with a focus on quality over quantity. Your furry friend will enjoy a cage-free, stress-free environment where they will feel comfortable and pampered. At Carly's, we make sure every dog leaves feeling and looking like royalty. Call 541-410-9582 or stop in today to book your appointment at Carly's Fairy Tale Dog Grooming. Welcome to the DiMattia's Food Fight Podcast. I'm your host, Brian DiMattei. We're here and we're brought to you by Conversion Works Media. We're in the Conversion Works Media studio here on 315 in Wilkes-Barre. I'm here with my guest today, Demetri Patitsas.
Yeah, so good to be here, Brian. Thank you.
I'm from the you are one of the owners of the Greek Shack Empire up there in Mountaintop, right?
We call it the neighborhood of sites. The
neighborhood of sites.
Right now it's a brick and mortar that seats about 25 people in Mountaintop, a food trailer that goes as far east as Stroudsburg, far west as State College, down to Lehigh Valley, up to Dallas, and then also a lakeside restaurant as well, also under the name of the Greek Shack, that sits right at Beach Mountain Lake, and that's closer towards Hazleton area.
I'm looking forward to coming there when the winter thaws out.
We'd love to have you.
Yes.
We'd love to have you.
I've been to the Greek Shack in Mountaintop, came up there with Mike, and you invited us up.
Yeah.
Which we get invited to some places, but let me tell you what. The red carpet you rolled out,
I appreciate that.
I can't imagine me walking on another red carpet like that.
Thank you.
We showed up. You were welcoming from the beginning. We came in. You already had the baklava out on the table.
We did. When we bring out the baklava, you know, it's either someone's making a wedding proposal or it's DiMattia's food fight.
Yeah.
One or the other.
And then I asked you today. I'm gonna get right into this. I'm hungry. I'm ready for lunch.
Yes.
Now I call it this Greek lasagna.
Right.
What's the official name for it?
So pastisio is the name, and
similar to your last name.
It is. In fact, when I used to play football, and I remember the announcers would always mess up our name. I know you've had a similar, trauma growing up too. But but I remember you'd hear potato, Patitsas, all kinds of things. And what I'll tell you is that pastisio, it's really a family favorite. I always think of it as something that we break the fast and eat. There's this bechamel sauce, which is this creamy sauce on the top, and a tomato-based meat sauce that goes inside of it with baked ziti.
Is there allspice or nutmeg in this?
There's a cinnamon. There's a cinnamon. Right. Yeah.
It tastes like it tastes and smells.
Yes.
Like my mother's stuffed shells or her meat stuffing. That's what I'm the initial smell I'm getting.
Depending on what side of Greece you come from, some are more into sort of the clove, cinnamon, sweet mixture, and some are more into more of a salt savory. And my wife's side is more on the cinnamon, sweeter side, and ours on my mother's side is more of the savory. But it to me represents not just a great dish that turns on every bit of your palate, but it also is something that it's a comfort food. You really have to be intentional to make it, and so it just creates a hospitable environment. Literally, the table is set, and you cook it by at least the half tray, if not the tray. So there's a lot of people coming over, whenever it's prepared.
I heard you the whole time. That's so good.
Yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Take me through the cooking process of it.
Sure.
What ingredients? I know you mentioned what ingredients are in there, but what kind of pasta do we have in here?
Yes.
How is it layered up?
So
Brian?
What?
You want some?
It's really excellent, Brian. You really shouldn't hold back. I mean, it's, you know.
All right.
It's there's no judgment here. No judgment here. You know, I'll share this.
Showing them all my butt here.
Looks like your butt was in the Stegmeyer video.
I think that's a good sign, you know, for this podcast. You know,
Yeah.
if we get the producer out of the director's chair, you know, means the food's
All right.
good.
So, what is the first thing? What's the first thing going down on that?
All right. So it's a baked ziti. Those noodles that you have there, you know, depending on, again, the preference of the family, you'll see these kind of elongated ones or wider, fatter ones like we have there.
Yes.
What I love about those is there's an immediate body to this dish that other casseroles or even lasagnas, you know, may or may not have. But this immediately creates layers of the Jurassic, you know, Paleolithic, you know, go on and on and on. But it's, of course, all Greek flavor and Greek spices. And that baked ziti then is covered in a meat tomato-based sauce. As I mentioned, you might go more heavy on the savory taste, or people throw in clove or they throw in cinnamon, even a little sugar. But I'll tell you, the crown of that dish is the bechamel sauce, and there are several types of Greek cheeses that are poured into that mixture along with eggs and butter and milk, and that top, to me, is like the muffin top of the Seinfeld show. You know, you could just, you know. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it truly is. It truly is.
Top of the morning to you.
Top all the way.
Top of the morning to you.
And it's you know, if you saw me, you know, the day after, you let this thing cool, and then there's always some leftovers because, you know, it's a lot of food. I mean, it's a very deep, it's a heavier dish.
Yes.
And so you typically have some leftovers the next morning. But that process of it kind of cooling again and then reheating it really brings out the flavor in a way that just, it sings, you know, it really sings. It reminds me a lot of a soup where, you know, the longer it kind of has a chance to kind of mix and kind of all that flavor come out. It's a better experience the more time passes.
I'll tell you what, it shut me up.
Yeah,
I usually don't shut up. I haven't said a word in the last couple of minutes. I eat the whole thing.
yeah. I'm glad you like it. I'm really glad. I'm glad we're here to share it with you.
I'm glad you brought it down.
You know, another thing, and this might tie into some of your training. You know, but so we're Greek descent, both my wife and I, and we're also Greek Orthodox. In the Orthodox Church, there are these periods of the year where you're fasting and not fasting. And typically, the fast refers to times where you're not eating meat or dairy. So this dish, you know, is prepared for Christmas because it really represents like what after 40 days of not eating meat and dairy. You know, and again, we're not suffering. You know, there's so many great in this age now. You get your Impossible Burger or whatever else. You know,
Yeah.
but you know, when you're ready to really go from famine to feast, this dish, the pasticcio, really represents that moment, and it's a fantastic moment.
So good. You got me prepared now to chit chat for the next hour.
Yeah,
or so.
yeah, good. Brian, no sleeping over there.
I might after this.
How was that? Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
We offer it as a special. You know, it really does take, as I mentioned, you know, you can get all kinds of ranges of pasticcio in terms of preparation. I remember one time, I'd never seen this done before, but I was visiting someone's home and they're like, oh, we're going to make a pasticcio. I thought, oh my gosh, you know, are we going to eat at 9 o'clock tonight? But they somehow in 30 minutes have put something together. You know, now a 30-minute effort gives you a 30-minute taste, you know. My mother, on the other hand, you know, she would, it was like a ceremonial thing. You know, you knew that the table would be, the kitchen island would be just filled with different ingredients, different things, and it would be 2-3 hours till you'd see.
So this would be
again.
This is the all-star
It is
of
yeah.
the Greek cuisine in a way.
Yeah, it really has great flavor, and it has so much. There's a volume piece there, and there's a comfort, and there's also just lots of density in that dish. You know that. Again, a Greek salad is fantastic. You know, our halloumi cheese. You know, all that. But this to me represents just a great convergence of a lot of great flavor and texture and density all in one.
So would a lot of family get-togethers be surrounded?
Yes,
from this dish?
It is. Yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah.
What's the number 2 dish?
I immediately go. I think immediately to dessert, and I think of the Greek rice pudding.
I love rice pudding.
I tell people it's a picture a Christmas cloud that fell into a bowl, and like it's dusted with cinnamon, and that is what a Greek risogalo, which is it's simple ingredients. Yeah, simple ingredients here too. But the trick really is that people want to cut through the part where you have to boil the rice in the milk, and they'll just boil the rice directly, into the. Forgive me.
You're good. Your hair looks better now.
Yeah, good. They'll literally just put the rice in water and boil it that way to get it to soften, and then they'll just throw it in the milk, and But if you don't soften your rice in the milk, it just never binds in the same way, and you're really setting yourself up for a subpar rice pudding experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want some rice pudding now.
Yeah, we have it. Again, it's another one of our specials that we
Yes.
kind of announce. But I was just at Frackville Prison this morning, prepping up grub for them, and we did have some limited rice pudding, and within 15 minutes, all of it was gone.
So you're at the prison making food for the workers or the
for
inmates?
the guard, the guards,
the guards,
the
okay.
staff, administrators, nurses. We one component of our business that's I think really novel is that we started with a food truck, but we're committed to the brick and mortar game too. Mm-hmm. And you couldn't ask for a better marketeer than that truck. I mean,
You started with the food truck.
we did, yes, and because we are sort of invading different spaces. And different places and different people, it's just a great way to get the brand, the name, people to taste. Once they taste it, they tend to return, and that's what led us to open up the brick and mortar, because people were saying, hey, we don't want to wait till next year's Bloomsburg Fair to see you. We want to come once a week or twice a week even. So that's where we gain the momentum and the confidence, because our customers told us to open up a brick and mortar mountaintop, and now that exists since Super Bowl weekend of this year, 2025.
That's great.
So they weren't the only ones winning that year. The Eagles.
Let's go back before that. You came from Greece. Let's talk about let's go all the way back to the origin stories before the Greek shack was a shack.
Sure.
All right.
So my Papu George, which refers to my grandfather.
How do you say that?
Papu.
Papu.
Yeah.
Okay.
He grew up in a small island off the coast of Greece called Lefkada, and in ancient Greek that refers to the white stone. And that's literally what you see. When you go through that island, it's white stone everywhere, and there are mountains and there are beaches, and it's really just such a imaginative place, because you see all the jagged rocks and the areas that goats jump from place to place, and there are shepherds there. In fact, my grandfather, he didn't have goats, but or sheep. He had turkeys, believe it or not. So he was a shepherd of turkeys as a child, and he lived through World War II. But his cousins, the Kataforis side, they actually have a gyro stand in the middle of the town of Vasiliki, it's called. It's very popular there for windsurfing, even though the island itself, Lefkada, and then subsection is Vasiliki. But that little town, that little village, it's just a fantastic place for tourism and visitors, and they have Yannis gyros to this day there. Now, I have to tell you, they prepare foods in a slightly different way. They create their own gyro cones of chicken and lamb and pork, and so they have their own. It's 50 years more going. But the tradition exists in terms of hospitality. And, my Papu George, he came from humble beginnings, came in the 1950s to the United States to be a chemical engineer, went to Tufts University in Ohio. And then him and my yaya, my grandmother, Yaya Leni, they started their family. They had 6 children. The oldest, Christopher, is my father. And he's one of 5 boys and has a sister. I'm one of 5, and I have 5 sons. So there's some sort of genetic, I don't know if it's the pasticcio or what, but something's there.
5.
Yeah. And so this tradition of food and having a sunset view and a place that, engages all the senses, it's of course not just unique to the Patitsas family, but it is the Greek way of hospitality. That when you go to Greece, the cushions are set, the table is set, but it's typically you have a sunset view. There's music playing. You're just engaged in a way that invites every part of you into the meal. And of course, some fantastic things happen at the dinner table. And I think that's part of our mission is that we want people to have a family-friendly place where they can sit down, where they spend 5 minutes or 5 hours, they're welcome to, and they're engaged in that way. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's helped us build momentum, because it is a differentiator, as opposed to maybe something more transactional or more, let me go through the fast food line. We have a fast casual philosophy just to keep our costs down. But a lot of that also is because from a team point of view, all our team members are cross-trained. So we want them to be able to walk out and say, I made that dish for you. Did you enjoy it? We don't want anyone who feels like some areas off limits to them. And I think it creates a work environment that's very stimulating, keeps you on your toes. You're always learning. You're not always good at every station, but you learn from each other, and it tends to keep our team members' attention, and that's very inviting, I think, for our customers.
That's great. That keeps them fresh in the kitchen too.
Right.
They don't get bored and stale.
Right.
I don't know if I like doing this today. Okay, come over here. I'll switch you.
Right.
And that makes the day go by good.
Yes.
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 You mentioned to me when me and Mike came up there that you had other careers besides working in the food industry. So what other careers did you get into growing up, and then what led to you being a restaurant owner? So it's a big leap.
Yeah, it is. I think the common denominator through all of it, again, I mentioned our Greek Orthodox faith, is that in the Greek Orthodox Church, they're always raising their money through food. The annual Greek festival, the Greek bazaar. You see the annual or
pierogi church.
Right.
Everybody does it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But in the Greek Church specifically, it's typically like 80% food and maybe 20% on dues or some other more 21st century sort of approach,
Yeah.
So we were always surrounded by food and that spirit of like, hey, we're raising money for the church, we're bringing the community in, there's dancing, there's music, it's a whole event, So that was always running in parallel to my own personal professional life. And when I started off in school, I wanted to be my father. My father's an eye surgeon. He was also a Greek Orthodox priest. Again, these things keep converging,
Mm-hmm.
But what I discovered is that if I wanted to count, bacteria under a microscope and then go to through med school and residency and so on and so forth, there were a lot of years of just kind of waiting to act, and I didn't want to do that. And so for my freshman year to my sophomore year, I got involved with this program called the DiMattia's Center for Entrepreneurial Leadership. What was so cool about that year is they just launched this program. If you fail, they forgive the $10,000 loan. If you succeed, you pay it back in a revolving fund that helped other students. So I looked for something that I could commit to during the summer months and walk away from during the school year. And so I bought my first ice cream truck off of eBay in 2005. Black bow tie, white uniform, the whole thing.
Yeah, picture?
It's somewhere online. Yeah,
Okay.
You Google it.
Yeah.
The name is Absolute Creole Ice Cream Truck Service.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's still there.
Okay.
Some cool videos and things like that.
Yeah.
Now, of course, this was a different era. You didn't have a time where you could plug in your internet box and take POS. It was very grassroots, bare bones type of thing. So, where do you buy an ice cream truck? You don't go down to your ice cream truck dealership. At that time, the most sophisticated thing was to go on eBay. And I remember, trying to outbid some bastard from Michigan, trying to, outbid my bid. And I bought the thing, and I was 20 years old. It taught me so much about what entrepreneurship is and what accountability is and what it means to be relied on by other people. And again, this concept of a mobile unit where you're sort of invading their neighborhood, you're invading the park, you're invading the school little league field, and providing a service where, let's face it, there's a lot of skepticism that surrounded the pre-COVID era of food trucks. They called them roach coaches. There was very little Oversight, yes, and of course, once COVID hit, it really helped improve the standard of care, so to speak, of the food truck game. But in 2005, I started with one, and by my third summer, we had 3 trucks, 6 push carts, 14 employees. I was really,
It's awesome.
Everyone underestimated us because we were these young kids, but as a result, we used that. Penn State has their 4th of July Fest. It's massive. I mean, maybe outside of a Penn State game, that parking lot is never fuller. We had never applied ever. But I went there. I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm this high school kid. I'm just trying to earn some money." And next thing you know, we're approved vendors in there. We did that for a lot of things, and people also saw in as sort of the American dream. You want to help a young person who's taking on responsibility excel. I think we all feel that way. Jordan Peterson's got this great line. He said that nothing's uglier than a person who's matured. Who's aged but not matured, and nothing's more impressive than a young person who's taken on a lot of responsibility and in turn matured. So it plays on that part of us. There's something very beautiful in seeing a young couple. We all want to hear that story. Oh, the young couple, they started with the shirts on their back, and they bought a house and they fixed it up, and now it's 40 years later. We all know that story because we admire that. We admire what they stand for and the hard work that went into it. In this food truck, there were so many elements of that. People saying, "Yeah, this is the American dream. Here's $5. Here's $10. To help us along. And I say us because I was the owner of that. But there were so many mentors and advisors and friends that just helped us through. I remember one time we had a tire explode on the way to an event. These people were so kind. They walked 4 blocks so they could still have their ice cream, and they changed my tire for me while we served. It was just such a cool family, community centered sort of moment. So to your point, my career is always it's had a social impact kind of community element to it, but it's changed forms as my life has changed forms. So after that, I also spent some time living in Athens, Greece.
What happened with the ice cream trucks?
I sold them all. Off. Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. What occurred is it was just clear to me that once college was over and you needed full time, it's hard to do that business on the side. You're sort of all in, or you're sort of it's just a hobby.
Is that what you did? You okay? Am I going to do the ice cream full time?
Right.
Or am I going to next chapter?
Right.
You went next chapter.
I really tried to. There's this group called Paint for America. Anyway, it's not a pyramid scheme, but it's basically trying to get college students painters tuition or something like that. They get college students to paint homes, and they catch you in the summers, and you're meant to make sales and organize crews. This great leadership opportunity. It's all over the country. We tried to do that in a similar way with the ice cream business. What I found was that the trucks were too expensive, or in a used capacity, too unreliable to just take the pain and suffering out of it to scale. And so it was like, all right, I think I'm ready to move on to some other venture or some other thing.
I read for the record.
Yeah.
I rather pay for college than paint houses for college.
Yeah.
Give me a bill.
Right. Yeah.
Pay these houses all summer long. Get free college. I'm like, that sounds fucking terrible.
Right.
Painting houses. I know what you're saying. I'm just joking around. I just don't like painting anything.
Yeah, I hear it. I hear you. My wife's family came from some painters, and then they got into selling paint for that reason.
Yeah, we're gonna paint the gym during Christmas break. It's not a small gym.
Okay. Yeah.
I told the owner, I'm like, we should get somebody to do it, or you should get somebody to do it.
Right.
And I've been in his ear for a week now. I'm like, if he get the paint here and there, look how great. He's like, get his number.
Right.
Get an estimate. I'm like, I just don't want to paint.
Right. Yeah. I get it.
All right. So you sold the ice cream trucks. Now
Yes.
it's new chapter. What's that new chapter?
New chapter is my cousin was starting a shipping company out in Greece, in Athens, Greece. And he was looking for some, recent college grads to kind of come in there and work a lot more than you could ever compensate them for, but, had vigor and horsepower. And so one thing I learned very quickly in Greece is that although they have so many excellent education certificates and diplomas, the U.S. education is just prized there. And I think it's for 2 reasons. One is there's just something inherently fascinating to them about our American industriousness and startups and just making things happen, taking action. In a more socialist sort of environment, your greatest good may be to live in your parents' second level apartment, enjoy the beautiful weather in the summer, and kind of subsist, during the year. In the States, there's just such an economic engine, and there's a reason why people come here. It's despite how beautiful Greece is.
You told me that.
Yeah.
You said there's. I go, which do you say? Opportunity.
Yes, there's opportunity here, and so that's one piece. But the other piece was that we were good public speakers. I have a twin brother of mine. He's an ER doctor now, but we were just good on our feet, And so they would ask us about, all of our presentations began with without shipping, half the world would freeze, and the other half would starve. Everyone paid attention. But it was we learned a lot about how you raise money. At one point, we even thought about going for IPO. We just learned a tremendous amount about what the energy sector does and how it gets from place to place. But that was very entrepreneurial. But I felt like the economic opportunities were in the States, and so I decided not just to go back to the States, but I took up a conversation with a professor. And he said, I have a school in Central America that needs businesses built to help the school along. And it sort of opened up this whole world to me of what a space called social impact, social entrepreneurship, basically using business fundamentals to address social ills. So I went there in 2008 and started working with the school and started creating businesses that would earn money, and in the process of doing that, learned that it was better to partner with existing businesses and just help them do what they did better. We raised some funds. We created a third level of the school. We did a lot of speaking tours, raised a lot of money in that way. It was very impactful. But, the for-profit mindset, I think, is the way to sustain. One thing that really surprised me, Brian, that the biggest endowment in the world is owned by the Hershey Milton Orphanage in Hershey, PA. And the reason for that is it was founded and then they bequeathed everything to the orphanage. I forget now what the percentage of the Hershey Chocolate Company's shares are, but I mean it is the largest endowment in the world, and it sustains a school that does tremendous things for people who are just who are vulnerable and high risk.
Milton Hershey was that type of person,
right?
Yeah,
him and his wife couldn't have children, so. So again, that social impact theme, kind of ran throughout. But that was about six years of my life living in Central America, back and forth from the States, doing that type of work. I realized I was teaching MBA students without an MBA, and so I went back to Penn State and got my MBA there. And in the process, got married, started having my kids, and realized that living on chicken buses in Central America just wasn't going to cut it, So, there was a period of time where, I worked for my wife's family business, but I ultimately kept gravitating back to entrepreneurship, and, COVID hit and a lot of those things kind of froze as, you were considered essential or not, non-essential business. But I worked for Amazon for 3 years during that whole experience. And then in the summer of 2023, Amazon was laying off, Facebook was laying off, Microsoft was laying off, and I was among those 9,000 for that wave that got laid off at Amazon. And it was really the most unbelievably magnificent chess move that I can never take credit for, in that I accepted that occurred. I knew we had to play our best hand. We had 5 kids to feed and everything else. But it really forced me to think about, instead of a venture abroad or something that maybe helping someone else's expertise, like I had done in Guatemala, what's something that we ourselves enjoyed and maybe we're known for. And so we have this saying in our family that, to hear, you have to scream, and you listen what echoes back, And so in my life, I felt like the hospitality world was always part of that. And of course, 20 years prior, we were in the ice cream business, et cetera. But, we needed something that we possessed the recipes for and the expertise for. And my wife has always been an excellent hostess and a wonderful mother, an amazing wife. And, my thought was, why don't I take some of these skills, these business skills, and apply it there? And the Greek Shack was born as a part of that.
So you were just like, let's do a restaurant.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to get into that business, but did you think back to your ice cream days?
I did. Yeah. I also thought, if we were to try to do this in New York City in Astoria, we wouldn't have a chance. There's a Greek something every 50 feet, But in rural PA, you're not trying to sell ice to Eskimos. It's something different, And so you can position yourself in a way that's not just cost conscientious. You can do it in terms of like, this is unique food in an unusual place, and provide an experience around that. And that's really what the Greek Shack's done.
So the Greek Shack was the second venture. The food truck was first, correct?
Right. Yeah, it's all under the umbrella of the Greek Shack, but the trailer, yes, was the first.
So take us to that. That's when you decided that. When did you? I mean, it makes sense that you went to a food truck because of your experience with the ice cream trucks.
Uh-huh.
So was that your initial thought, or did you have the plan for what you have now?
Yeah. So I started writing that business plan and trying to think through the strategy. You could tell that things were getting very heavy, very dark in the Amazon sphere at that time. People were trying to justify their existence. Just a lot of things that didn't seem identifiable to me and what Amazon was prior.
What was going on with all those? What year was this?
This was 2023.
What was? Oh, because they overhired during COVID years, right?
They really overexpanded.
That's right.
And I think they realized that
Facebook's particularly overhired during that shut because everything was crazy for a little while. Right. Amazon as well. So
Google. That
was so they overhired because of the people using their servers, correct? They needed more people?
So I think it was a combination of three things. One is, COVID was the ultimate, like, everything's contactless.
Yeah.
So we had no way of purchasing unless, there's other ways of purchasing, but, that was such a convenient way. Right. Yeah. It was just, just nothing was recognizable in that way. The second is that, Amazon had really created a culture that could handle the ambiguity of that environment. One thing that I really admire about, among many things, I admire about Amazon is just this, bias for action. You talk about these leadership principles, and it's like, hey, we have to hit this target, this number by this date. Like, what can we do and reconfigure today? You don't need to wait for your senior somewhere in a head office to tell you to do it. You just do it. And of course you live by the consequences of it, but that's something that's really celebrated in that environment. So that a culture that wouldn't try something different, wouldn't survive there, and so they were just ready. They were ready, Mm-hmm. And then the last piece I think is really that, Amazon, it just always is iterating. The customers want this now. Let's try this differently. Let's create a little slush fund to see that last and see if it gets past early adopters and becomes more mainstream. So there were some really key lessons I learned in that time, and I thought, let's apply this in a food setting. I in a former life I worked at Jim Thorpe with one of my best friends from college, the Mazzella family, and one thing that was very clear to me in the construction zone that I think is very similar in the food is that I think outside of construction. There's no higher use of alcohol and drug use than the food sector.
1,000%.
Yeah. And you have a lot of very talented people that are under these vices that really limit their ability, and their stability as a result. One thing that reigned true for me in the construction time, that I think still reigns true right now in the food business, is that we were trying to meet people where they are, but we didn't give up on people. If they didn't have a license for 9 years, we're going to call your local representative and let's find out what you need to get your license back, get your life back, So a social service component, I think, to business is essential, I think, for people to take care of their people. Mm-hmm. And so rather than having this mindset of like, I have this diploma, these certificates, this, fund to invest, and all racing into New York City to fight over the limited few positions, high paying positions. It's like, well, why don't we carve something out of a humble rural place, and bring our best there and prove that there's a market there also. And I think through sort of the social service element combined with we're focusing on rural places, bringing that experience to a rural place. I think those are powerful ingredients in what's brought us to today.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you.
I love that. Genoa Wholesale Foods, supplying quality since 1947. For over 75 years, Genoa Wholesale Foods has been your trusted partner for premium food supplies. Specializing in services to pizzerias, Genoa also caters to restaurants, bakeries, delis, and bars throughout northeastern Pennsylvania. They proudly offer a blend of both private label and national brands, helping you find the perfect products to meet your restaurant needs. With local deliveries and the care of a family-owned business, they are committed to making your success their priority. Choose Genoa Wholesale Foods for reliable, top-quality restaurant supplies that keep your business running smoothly. Genoa Wholesale Foods, locally owned and operated for 3 generations. Call Genoa today at 570-823-6142 or visit them online at www.genoafoods.com. So you're on the road now. You got the food truck,
Right.
And then all your customers. How long did your customers repeatedly ask, you need a sit-down place? You need a sit-down place. I want to come see you all year round. I know you mentioned it earlier.
Yes.
That's what they said to you. But what started that process? That's a big decision,
Right.
Because you're essentially opening up a second restaurant.
Right.
So what was the game plan that came into you and your family and being like, let's do a brick and mortar shop?
When we opened them up in September of 2023, in a way, you couldn't have asked for a worse time to open a food business because you're going right into the slow season, and it wouldn't have been until the spring of 2024 that we really emerged, But again, not having any formal, I'm not a chef. I didn't go to chef school. Gordon Ramsay isn't my godfather or something. What was clear is that we needed those months to train, to understand, how long does closeout take every night? What is a reasonable amount to start in the morning? Those types of questions. And because we were so hands-on, we quickly learned sort of the guardrails of those requirements. So even as spring hit, we were still learning now, but we were just still proving the concept, We had mortgaged our home. We had cashed out of any stocks, that we had of Amazon.
You're all in.
All 100% in, And there's this amazing book. It's called Burn the Boats. And it talks about this concept.
We say burn the boats?
Yeah, burn the boats. If you know that in the back of your subconscious that there's a way out, you're not going to go all in, right?
That,
right.
Yeah.
And it, of course, as an athlete, as an entrepreneur yourself, you can't fake success. You have to be all in.
Sometimes people say it's bad luck or bad juju or a mistake to make a plan B or plan C because you're already saying plan A is going to fail.
Right.
There's 2 different ways to look at that.
Right.
Being prepared or doubting yourself. There's 2 ways to look at that. I'm more about, I'm going to have plan B ready just in case.
Right.
That's just how I am.
Right.
That's how I am.
Brian, I feel like your professional fighting, to me, is a neat analogy. Like you're in it to win it in that moment. But you're iterating as you're learning from your opponent, like, what does the customer want? Is it more desserts? Is it more savory? Is it more discounts? Is there a certain location? So as you're getting hit with that, grappling with that person, you're making decisions that aren't betraying your goal to win. You're still in that type of fight, in that type of arena, but you are changing as you're going, and I feel like that's how I would describe what we were doing in the spring of 2024. We were in it 100%, but we also realized that, our customers are telling us that the trailer's awesome. They're having a great time with it, but they want to see us more regularly. And so there were 2 milestones that took us over the edge of like, hey, we're going to go from just a family business that has a single trailer to a commissary to now a full restaurant. The first was at the Bloomsburg Fair. Out of some 900 vendors, we got first ribbon, and so
that's amazing.
And now I don't know what category that I was just we were so busy feeding everybody, I couldn't even investigate further, but we got first ribbon, and that to me, I think gave us the confidence that like, hey, I think we've really worked on this craft, and we need to we need to take notice that people appreciate what's here and they like what's here, and we've beat out these other vendors. And so that was a tremendous milestone for us. But the second one was that SCORE, Senior Corps of Retired Executives. Is there anyone watching that is looking for like free mentorship, something that's just going to help them get to that next level? You know, it's not what you know that kills you, it's what you don't know, is what I've come to learn. And so SCORE assigned us a few mentors that were restaurateurs themselves, and they just on their own time, I mean, I could never have paid them enough, or even in food, you know, to do what they did for us. You know, we'd send them business plans, they'd review it, pro formas, they'd review it. You know, even now, I still stay in touch with them. But they just celebrated their 60th anniversary of existence, and they had a national competition where 2,200 businesses around the country applied. Of those 2,200, 500 were interviewed over the phone. Those 500 interviews turned into 189 video submissions. And those 189 video submissions turned into five or six groups of 10 that competed for a $20,000, $10,000, and $5,000 prize. And we made it to the final round in Philly and took home the second prize at $10,000, you know, with this concept that we're going to take this money and, you know, and use it towards expanding the vision, you know. And so that's what we did. And
I saw the check hanging on the wall in your place.
Yeah, you did. That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Still the price is right.
You came in and told us all about it.
Yeah.
That was great.
So to answer your question, those are the two things that told us, like, hey, we see the demand and we have just enough of a nudge of resources to start the process.
Okay.
And there we are.
Awesome. Let's get into literally the meat and potatoes of the Greek Shack is the Greek food.
Yeah.
I know we talked about, I'm going to keep on calling it little lasagna.
Yeah, that's right.
I know we already talked about that. We got baklava in front of us.
Yeah.
Basically it's been a wrong word, but like I tried to educate myself or break down like what kind of food is Greek food. It's just fresh Mediterranean. That's the style, right?
Yeah.
It's just fresh chicken, fresh beef, fresh vegetables.
You know, the Mediterranean diet.
The cheese you gave me that one time.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, right. The halloumi
the feta
or the
cheese.
feta cheese. Yeah.
Remember you told me?
It's Brian's kryptonite. I felt so
I told
bad.
you earlier. I go, Demetri.
tried.
I don't like feta at all.
I know. I always tell people, have you tried my wife's?
Brings me this beautiful plate out. You brought me that beautiful salad.
Right.
And then it was a big lump. And just in case, I'm like, I know I'm not going to like it.
Right.
I eat around it.
It's all right. It's all right.
It's okay.
Mike, I think, cleaned it up for you.
He loves it.
You know?
Yeah, he loves it. Yeah.
It is high protein, low fat.
I get it. I wish I could eat it. I just don't like that. I don't like the...
It's the texture stuff, right?
Yeah, it's the texture, it's the taste. Yeah,
it's all right. It's all right.
Yeah. So the food is just, you brought us out, you know, beef kebabs, chicken kebabs, the soups, even those beverages that you gave us.
Sure.
It impressed me with, Brian, he gave us these little sodas. You twist the top off.
Right.
The top stays on there. It comes off so you can drink out of it. But for you to get that off there and throw it on the ground like a scumbag, it takes effort.
That's all of Europe.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
We need that.
So much fuller.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
they really, you know, people talk about it. You know, they go on vacation to Greece and they lose weight. You know, they're eating, and they still lose weight. You know, and of course, you know, I'm not a medical doctor. I try to pull terms from my brothers and what he does. But, you know, I just feel like when you're not in a stress state.
You're less bloated too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're less bloated too.
And the food there is just... you know, is it the genetic modified, you know, seeds that we use here? I mean, again, I've seen the Netflix conspiracy theories. You know, I can't disagree fully in that when I go to Greece, we tend to look healthier, be healthier, and lose weight, you know. So there's got to be some truth there. Mm-hmm. But the Mediterranean diet really refers to a non-abstinence diet. And as I understand what that means is it's never eat meat. That's not what it is. Eat some meat.
It's moderation, right?
It's moderation. It's never don't have veggies. No, have some veggies. Don't just don't ignore dairy. Have some dairy. But it's all kind of a balanced in moderation approach. And so I think what you find, you know, when we go to a fair and we're serving our food, it's unbelievable at our barbecue events how heavy the food is around us and how popular we are, because it's like, wow, we need something to neutralize all the grease and the heaviness of what's being eaten, you know. So I think, and you don't lose flavor in it. You know, we get these bean burgers and, you know, out of the freezer at Wise Market down the aisle 5, and they're tasteless. they don't stick together. You know, they're not particularly meaty. You know, it's sort of it's a letdown. You know, so I think sometimes people assume that if it's not something really calorie rich, somehow that's going to mean that it's going to be bad. Mm-hmm. But what we've learned is that with simple ingredients like the rice pudding, like our chicken souvlaki marinades, like our pork souvlaki, literally is pepper, salt, oregano, and lemon and oil, you know, that it brings out the flavor of that thing itself, you know, which should stand on its own feet, you know. The hamburger, as I understand it, came from Hamburg, Germany. There's nothing ham about burgers, you know. And my understanding also is that if you go to Hamburg, there are these burger joints where, you know, if you pull out mustard or condiments or something, they're kind of offended. Like, what? Is something wrong with the burger, sir? You know, the meat should stand on its own, you know, just with some light touches, you know. So Greek food is very much like that. It's moderation. It's a little pop of this, a pop of that, but it's nothing overly powerful. But the flavor is steady, and it's satisfying as a result.
It just tastes fresh all the time.
Right.
I'd be putting ketchup on that burger wherever you are. They can look at me like, oh yeah, we got a problem.
Right.
There'd be ketchup on it.
We have a Keely's burger at Beach Mountain.
Okay.
And it's just our restaurant chef and manager there, Josh, put it together. It's a spicy feta with caramelized onions, 2 smash burgers, this beautiful broche, you know, bun. I mean, it's fabulous.
Burgers.
Yeah, me too.
I absolutely love burgers.
Me too. It's a weak spot for me too.
So how do you say? You said it 2 different ways before.
Okay.
Gyro. I got blasted for. So a review that I did for your spot did great. People love it, especially on TikTok.
Yes.
TikTok and Facebook, they blew up. But I'm supposedly saying gyro incorrectly. I've been saying gyro, Americanized. I feel like it's the American word for it.
Right.
So what's the proper way to say it?
Well, can we blame anyone? I mean, it's spelled with a G, you know.
There's a Y in there.
Yeah, it's Y, you know, gyro. It looks correct. Now, I will say, in the Greek language, there's not really it's a guttural Y. So when you say the word yogurt, that guttural Y, gyro, is the gyro of gyro.
Okay.
You know, I'll tell you this. You know, I think from a cultural point of view, you know, yes, it's important that our different ethnicities and their countries of origin, you know, we maintain that and we preserve it, you know. But sometimes I do feel like, you know, and as a Greek saying this out loud, you know, we can be overly conscientious of pronunciation. You know, I mean, the reality is that this person's here to enjoy a wonderful meal. They're paying full price. They stopped everything in their day to come to us. You know, what you call it, we're grateful to have you, you know. And if you'd like to know, it's gyro, but, you know, whatever is comfortable for you, we're grateful to have you, you know.
Imagine being like, you know, really nice guest at your place. You're sitting there, eating a gyro. Oh, man, Demetri, this gyro is amazing. Nothing can ruin this gyro for me. And you bust their balls about saying it like in a mean way. Could you imagine that?
I've seen it. I've seen it, sadly. And I apologize on behalf of humanity, you know, for it, you know. But I will tell you, you know what's interesting? The most common question we get at that food truck is, how do you pronounce it? You know, because I do think people...
I never thought about it.
Right.
Did you, Brian?
Right.
What?
You see the word gyro? It's gyro. Or you knew?
Yeah, but I feel like we're over-enunciating that.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
So it's like, I don't know. I'm kind of with Demetri on that one.
Fair enough.
Yeah, we're just
enjoy it.
At the Greek,
exactly.
Just enjoy the food.
Exactly.
Just keep eating, you know.
Like, oh, you spelled that wrong. I don't fucking care.
Right.
Eat it.
Right.
I don't care.
It tastes good.
I'm not eating the spelling.
Right.
You know.
I appreciate that question because, you know, when our legal name is actually not just the Greek Shack; it's the Greek Souvlaki Shack.
Okay.
And when we opened with that, and people heard the word souvlaki, they were like, "What is souvlaki? How do you spell it? Should I be in danger? You know, should I be afraid right now?" Yeah, it just refers to a street food that's skewered. You know, chicken souvlaki, pork souvlaki, whatever. So we dropped it, you know, and we're the Greek Shack, you know. But there is a cultural, you know, self-awareness that, you know, you want to create a hospitable place where it's welcoming. Maybe there's some education eventually that occurs, you know, but you gotta meet people where they are, you know. And I think we've achieved that so far.
When I came there for the first time, that's where we were greeted. It was, you came out, you were talking with us, you're showing us around the land a little bit. I tell people, I've never been to a place where the owner was prouder about their place than you were.
Thank you.
And that
Thank you,
made,
very kind. Yeah.
and Mike agreed too, that made the whole experience even that much better. You know what's funny? Remember that gentleman came in while we were eating?
Okay.
Single guy by himself. He came in and ordered some food.
I do.
I was telling him, he overheard us talking about jujitsu.
Yes.
His daughter signed up for class.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
He came down there. He came down there like 3 days later.
Yeah.
He called me up. He goes, then he came down and then they just started their membership beginning of this month.
Okay. That's terrific.
Yeah. So that was really nice.
You know, when we started the business, Brian, we talked about like different taglines, you know, and we landed on this combination: faith, family, friends, and fabulous food. I got a lot of heat initially because, like, to me, you know, you're a food business. You put the food to the front, you know, of that tagline. Food is. You're probably getting to this part.
Yeah. Food is. It brings everybody. It always has brought everybody together.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. And you know, my thought was if our food sucks, we're going to be out of business no matter what. You know,
it's true.
But if the food gets people's attention, the way we not only, you know, keep your attention and make you one of our food family, but we help better your life as well, as we have to be aware of that faith, family, friends component, you know, community, things that aren't just transactional, that there's something immaterial occurring. You know, as we're sitting here, Brian, you know, I'm edified by what you're saying. I'm learning from you. It's a back and a forth. Mm-hmm. We're eating. We're, you know, Brian's breaking his baklava diet, you know, restriction. You know, it's all part of, you know, why we're here, and it adds meaning. You know, and again, I'll refer to another. I remember in this Jordan Peterson's opener prologue in this book. It was if people stop measuring their day by how happy they were, but rather by how meaningful the day was, it'll transform your outlook. You know,
I like that.
Right? Instead of being like, was I happy today? I can't tell. I felt kind of depressed. Well, we don't care about that. We're going to feel all kinds of emotions, you know, whether through college, through our marriages, through our struggle, you know, whatever it is. But was it meaningful? You know, now, of course, you don't want meaning that's destructive. You know, that could be, you know, maybe that doesn't fall in that category. But if it's meaningful, it means that we grew, you know, and we built rapport and camaraderie. And I think our team and what we stand for, it keeps all of our attention, you know, because it's not just about, you know, clocking in and clocking out. It's not just about eating the food and leaving. It's not just about, can we host Brian and that's the end of the relationship. It's like, well, what else can we learn, you know, and who else can we send each other, and what more can we do, you know? And we look back and we're like, oh yeah, I remember it was the fall of 2025 in October, and Demet thought Brian's birthday was December 13th.
That's funny.
It was the food fight, you know,
food fight page at 13. Actually, it'll be around length. It will be the 3 years, because the original creation of the page was December 13th, and it was originally called DiMattia's NEPA food reviews. So it was a mouthful.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get rid of the NEPA, and that's when we came up with the food fight.
Right.
And then,
brilliant. I love it.
It worked out really well.
Yeah.
It's not too bad. So a couple closing questions before we head out.
Yeah.
I already know the answer to it. I want to hear it from you. How important is family values for the Greek culture? You see it in movies. You see it on TV. I saw it when I came to your restaurant, how everybody seemed like family. Yeah. So am I hitting the nail on the head?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think one of our secrets to expanding as rapid as we've had is not that we're saints, not that we're perfect, you know, none of that, but rather, like a family, we're willing to speak about things that are on our minds, share our successes, take a moment to celebrate each other, you know, model the things that we wish others to do, meet people in a pastoral way where, you know, we're getting young people who've never worked a job in their life, you know, and they certainly have never spoken Greek in their life, you know, so how are they going to learn all that? You know, well, we're going to come on over here. I want you to taste this. You know, every one of our team members gets a free meal and a canned drink a day. Mm-hmm. And, you know, our thought was, if we can't host each other, how are we going to host a stranger who we haven't met yet, right? So you know, to us, that family feel really begins at the dinner table. You know, I mean, proverbially, I mean, really, you know. So also the sacrifice. I think things like marriage and that family unit are under attack. It's under attack. It's devalued. Is it really necessary? But it's important that people who have an opportunity to make people feel welcome and make them feel as they are part of a team that has a sense of permanence and stability, provide that stability. That even if there's a storm in their life, they can come back to the Greek Shack and be part of that team and feel stability and centeredness. And of course, other places do this also. But to your point, that family component, what is your identity and what do you stand for, and how do we define, am I growing or not? If that human element's not part of it, you're probably not really listening to people. You're not really welcoming them for them fully, and work is a core part of family. These growing up, we were always doing something. If we visited my uncle, we were helping to move a shelf down 3 flights of stairs. We were helping clean up his garage. Whatever it was. Like, family needs to work together. They need to pray together. They need to eat together. They need to challenge each other. And all those things are not mutually exclusive. They can coexist. So for many reasons, the family component is very core. Yeah.
I love that. That's perfect. That's perfect. Let's get into one more topic before we head out. Just briefly, because me and my last guest talked about it a lot. I mentioned to you before the show. Running a restaurant in 2025 with food costs being as scary as they are. Mm-hmm. Vinny said chicken and alcohol are saving businesses right now. Uh-huh. What's your opinion?
Well, I think there's a shakeout occurring. If at the core of your value proposition isn't something that's more of an experience, but it's just something you can swap in and out, I think it's gonna really challenge people right now.
You mean talking about like a restaurant that it's a boring place, but they have a really good cheeseburger. That's not gonna be enough?
I don't think so. No.
That's what you mean, though, right?
Yeah, right.
The food itself.
Right.
Will not be the reason people keep coming to a certain place in the future.
Right.
That's a big thing. There's a lot of factors for me to go somewhere.
Right.
A lot of factors for me to go somewhere.
Right. If it's just about convenience and ease of access, you're basically at the mercy of an algorithm on DoorDash, Google, and Uber Eats, and you're just going to be, it's a lot of white noise out there. If you're not connecting with people in a way, it's like, I like that team. Mm-hmm. I felt different about myself going in there and out of there. That's the core that gets you through the slow periods. And as I mentioned, we were at Frackville Prison this morning, serving the guards and the nurses and admin and staff, and that's a core group of ours that gets us through the slow winter. They expect us there. They look forward to having us there. They all don't bring lunch that day. Mm-hmm. If we didn't have that experience along with the food and built that rapport with them, I don't know if we'd be invited back. I don't know if they'd not bring lunch that day.
So basically, it's not just the food.
Right.
It's everything else. You can make up, if you have to raise your burger $1, if you're established place where people come to see you, then get the food. Right. Come to see your staff, then get the food. Maybe they can survive that dollar cost. Mm-hmm. If I'm just coming there for the food and everything else doesn't work for me, am I really going to pay more for that now? Does that make sense?
Right. It does. It does. I feel like, Brian, in your line of work as well, you're in this athletic, physical world. People, I'm sure they're coming to you because they trust you. They feel like you see something in them that's got potential and you can help guide them, and so otherwise we would just go on Google, look for the low-cost provider and, who's closer, I guess, Yeah. So now what I will say, which I won't pretend to have the same experience as Kyle, right? It was Kyle before.
Yes.
We've been in this business 26 months. We've shown some amazing acceleration, but over 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, I would love to be a fly on the wall at your next podcast, where you're interviewing that person and hearing them say, like, over that 20-year span, not 20 months, but 20 years, what are the things that kept people coming back? And I'm I think there's a difference between sort of a small family business where you can rely on those people all the time versus a business that's scaling where those characters come in and out.
Yeah.
The question is, do they buy into the values that attract them there and keep them there? And I think that's, I think it starts there and everything just waterfalls from that point.
I love that answer. That was great. That one, good direction on that one.
Thanks.
I like that one.
Thanks, Brian. You too.
A couple questions while I eat the baklava.
Yeah,
One,
please.
What is baklava?
So baklava is really an iconic dessert of Greece. There are other versions of it.
Twist Brian's arm on that one.
Well, please, give him, there's a few here too for the staff out front. Baklava is an iconic dessert of Greece. The first thing you're going to notice are these buttery layers of phyllo dough. Phyllo dough is a stretched wheat. It's very, delicate to work with, but you butter that and you're able to maneuver it in such a way that it now creates these layers. And then as you add your pecan and your walnut, there's like a cinnamon sugar component there too. What's wonderful about it is, there's texture, there's sweet, there's crunch, and that honey syrup that we use. I remember I ran into this woman at the airport one time. Somehow we started talking about baklava. I don't know how, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. But she was like, I've tried making baklava so many times. It never turns out well. And I said, well, tell me your process. She's like, well, she went through the whole process. And then when it came to the syrup, she just used like a diluted honey, And I said, oh, that's you have to add a little citrus to that. There's a little citrus element there that really just gives it a little zing, that brings the baklava to its full majesty. So what you're enjoying right now is something that people will have for breakfast. They'll have it as a snack. They'll have it for dessert. It is just a wonderful medley of crunch, honey, cinnamon, sugar, and it goes well with coffee. You don't even need to put anything in your coffee. It's just that bitter and the sweet.
That good? I would eat this
All the time.
You mentioned every possible time except for like 2:30 in the morning in my kitchen.
Right, yeah.
Well, I'm craving. I'm
You'll be there.
laying there in bed. I'm like,
Right.
got some baklava in the fridge.
Yeah.
Because I do that. It is cookie season now.
Okay,
So
right.
Christmas cookie season.
Yeah.
So they're all over the place. Like there's been times where I'll get up just to eat a cookie because I'm a slob.
It's a temptation we all face. I will say our baklava tends to be less syrupy. We tend to eat ours in a more delicate way, and so when you typically see a baklava, you'll see the syrup kind of dripping off of it. And to be honest, I just find it's way too sweet that way. It's over, and I
don't
would,
like that.
I would challenge those who are serving it that way that there's no way they're really using honey for that. It's too expensive.
That's fair.
So if it's just swimming in a pool of something, there's something there that's probably not might be betraying the core mission. That core honey mission.
Thank you so much for bringing that down.
Yeah.
Good, Brian.
Enjoy it. Kalioriksi.
I got to bring one more home for myself and one to my buddy Tyler. Yes. 3 closing questions.
Yeah.
I didn't ask Kyle these questions.
You didn't.
81 episodes. The streak is over.
You didn't. I just realized that.
It's a new era.
I time panicked. Not realizing that.
Oh, it's good. You
plenty
were
of time.
enjoying the conversation.
Yeah.
And
We got into it. We got I could talk about gambling and gambling addiction now for a long time. So it was
That's a different kind of episode.
yeah, it was a good episode because I never had anybody like I'm in the gambling space back in the day.
Okay.
I work in the casino.
Right.
And he's a gambling. We're both in recovery, and he's a gambling addicted specialist.
Yeah.
And him explaining the differences between the addiction of a drug and the gambling addiction. Now I experienced both. Never really the gambling addiction, but I could see the gambling addiction being harder than anything else. That's why I always said alcohol addiction is worse than any drug because the alcohol. I've seen alcoholics in AA meetings looking like death for months, and they were getting sober. Worse looking than heroin addicts.
Right.
The alcohol eats your body away one day at a time, and it's so accessible. You can literally leave an AA meeting and there's a bar across the street. But the gambling now is so relative on your phone.
Right. It's so easy.
It's everywhere. So that was a really good that was a good conversation.
Yeah. They talk about what is it? It has to be affordable, anonymous, and accessible. You know, the 3 A's. And they talk about pornography in that way. Okay. You know, when it turned into that space.
So quick to get.
It just became an epidemic.
No VHS tape of Debbie Does Dallas.
Right. So
first one ever.
So the same with you know, of course, gambling or anything else. You know, as it becomes more accessible, more, you know, less risk, you know, involved. You start with something small and grow.
But it's everywhere now, and the states just play it up. Anyways,
right? Yeah. Well,
what's your favorite food?
This thing's sitting right here. You know, honestly, it really is.
Okay,
it really is.
Yeah,
I truly enjoy it. It has a meaning behind it too. Okay. You know, that's very comforting. But it's just a solid, excellent bite.
I love it. It's so good. Do I get to bring that home?
Yes, it's all yours. And
Brian, you want some before I attack that? Yeah. You want to even it out?
In a minute.
Okay, perfect.
Share it with
I'm saying, Brian, you even it out, take whatever you want. That's perfect. You can put it in one of these if you want to. Good.
Oh, Brian,
sneak the rest
let me
out
ask
behind
you something real quick.
Please.
You know, just to pick your brain.
Yeah, of course.
You know, so here we are. We're a small family business. We've had some nice growth moments, etc. But we're only 26 months into this. What would you say are the 3 differentiators as you've met the gambit of businesses? You know, from franchise to small business to people 20 years, 2 years. What are 3 things that they're doing right that seem to be at the top of that?
Well, there's 3 things that maybe a better way to look at it would be, what are the 3 things that I look for when I go to a restaurant to eat? Mm-hmm. Cleanliness. It's the first thing I see. Mm-hmm. There's a reason I don't do full restaurant reviews, because some places are dirtier than others.
Yes.
And I'm always in the assumption that if your dining room is dirty, not during a rush, like filth. Yeah. There's dirty after a rush.
Right.
And then there's filth from not properly cleaning. More than likely the kitchen's that way. It's possible it's not, but more than likely it is. You might have a chef that cares, but an owner who does not in the front of the house. So I don't know. But cleanliness.
Okay.
100% number 1. Staff, and of course the food. Those are the 3. Consistent.
Okay.
A 4th one. Consistent. Well, number 3 will be consistency with the food.
Okay.
Now, there are times I've gone to places, my favorite places, and the pizza's off for that day. Whatever the reason may be, but the next 10 times it's on.
Right.
So I know consistently I'm more than likely going to get what I'm going there for.
Right.
Is it possible I don't get it because something's wrong that day? Sure. Do I stop going? No. I worked in the business a long time. I know sometimes it's just a bad day. Cleanliness, kindness,
right,
and consistency with the food.
Right.
Those are the 3 things that will bring me back to your establishment. And I've gone back to places. I've gone to very popular places around this area that are still very popular on social media and all those other places. But my first experience was experiencing their dining room being a mess. And again, it wasn't after a rush. I know what a rush mess looks like. I did it for a very long time.
Right.
When things are disorganized, all over, disheveled, it shows a lack of care, in my opinion, of your business. This is your pride and joy. How proud you were about your business, inviting us to come see your place. That's how owners should be.
Right.
And I know the restaurant business is a tough business, but you chose to be in there. You're opening up every day. I know times are tough, but customers who are paying more now for food, it's costing me. It's costing more money to go out. My food reviews cost more money to go out now, right? I don't do as many, but I don't mind spending the food money as long as those 3 things are part of it. Okay. Answer your question?
Yeah. I'm going to have my entire team watch this whole thing. So I'm glad you said it.
Yeah.
You know,
those are the things. Those are the things that will be. It's not just the food. It's not just the food. It's the consistency of the food. I got a bad Whopper last night from BK. I usually get a really good Whopper. I get a Whopper with cheese and bacon, no mayo, no mustard, no mayo, no onion. Last night, I ordered the same exact thing, paid $7.73 for it. Guy brings the bag out. I grab it off of him. Like, this feels a little light. I get home. I was right. There was no bacon. There was no cheese. At least there wasn't mayo on it. But it didn't taste right. And I still paid for it. And it pissed me off a little bit. Right. But I will go back there because they've been consistent
most of
on making my Whopper.
Yeah, right.
And shit happens.
Right.
So, favorite food is the Greek lasagna.
Yes.
Okay. What food do you eat in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? One type of food.
Greek yogurt.
Greek yogurt? You're gonna have way too much fiber in your.
You know,
you're not gonna feel good.
You add honey, you add walnuts. It's just such a great base.
You're definitely getting your vitamin minerals out of there,
right?
But you might get too much fiber all day long with that.
Probably.
You ever eat too much fiber? You ever experience, Brian? You ever experience too much fiber in one day?
It's awful.
It really is the opposite of. It's the opposite.
Uh-huh.
It's one person I was with for a while back in the day. She was drinking. It was some kind of berry juice in the fridge.
Okay.
The fuck was it called?
But it was fiber
super high
enhanced,
fiber,
okay.
and she just drank too much of it, and all of a sudden, it's the opposite of constipated.
Okay.
Well, no, it's like you're like super constipated from it because it's so uncomfortable. It's so much fiber, it's so uncomfortable. So what food was it? 21st? Oh,
yeah,
the yogurt.
Greek yogurt.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll have to watch out for that.
I don't know. Does Greece have a death penalty?
I don't think so.
In the United States, we got one. So, what would be your last meal? You're on death row.
Probably the chicken avgolemino soup.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just like your mother's touch in every spoonful.
What was the soup you made for us?
There was two. There was the lentil and the avgolemino.
I crushed both of those when I went home that night. Yes. Ice cold from the crunch. From the crunch. I love cold soup.
Really, even the chicken, huh?
I love cold. I like to enjoy it at its boiling state.
Yes.
And then its ice cold state.
I see.
Like cold beef stew.
Really?
With the salt shaker.
You don't feel like it gets too the fat.
I just love it.
No.
I just love it. I just love it. I just love it. I love cold leftovers.
I'm glad you like those. But yeah, that avgolemino, it's the chicken lemon rice soup.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
The whole thing was outstanding. So I still have. I've been waiting.
Okay.
To post.
Oh yeah, as
dinner.
you want.
We posted the welcoming of the Greek Shack in the baklava part.
Yeah.
But we still have when you sat down. Still about 5 minutes left. So I've been sitting on it.
No pressure.
For when this episode comes out.
Okay.
It goes hand in hand. And then is the lakefront place open now in the wintertime?
It is.
Okay.
It's reduced hours, 4 to 9.
Okay. On the weekends?
Yeah.
Okay.
And 4 to 8 weekdays, Wednesday, Thursday.
Maybe we'll come up there for dinner before we air.
Let me know. It has its own personality,
yes.
But you see the blue and white, the cafe lights, the menu has a few additional items that are more, as I said, our neighborhood there wanted more pub food. So we made an Achilles burger and that sort of thing.
Nice. Yeah. All right, Demetri. I mean, real fast, tell everyone that's listening when they come see you at the Greek Shack.
We would love to see you guys, whether it's at our Greek truck in all the various places we go in Luzerne County, or come to Mountaintop at 683 South Mountain Boulevard, or come to our Beach Mountain location, which does a lot of private events, weddings. It's got a beautiful sunset view every night, even in the wintertime. But we are just so committed to sharing what we've been given, and freely give, freely receive, so we want to freely give that away.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Demetri,
Brian.
thank you for being on Food Fight. I'm your host, Brian DiMattei. That's it. Awesome, bro.
Owen.
Awesome. Thank you so much.